Hey everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchman, and we're coming at you today live with none other than L.A. Marzulli, who is like off somewhere in some undisclosed location, and he's hiding out up there doing what he does. And we're doing the best we can with our internet feed today, so if he's a little out of focus, don't worry about it. Listen to what he has to say. L.A., I got to ask you. You have been deep into the alien agenda for years.
Yeah.
And we see today this stuff that's going on with the Nimitz, okay, an aircraft carrier, uh, who they actually tracked a UFO. Why won't they disclose to us what's really going on?
Well, let me back up here. I've been researching the whole UFO phenomenon since I was 16. I saw my first craft at 12. I was a Boy Scout taking a shortcut for lunch, walking up a trail with three of the boys, skipping boulder to boulder, and the three of the boys went, "Wow, what's that?" I went, "Where are they?" Pointed, and there in the clear blue sky was a metallic silver disc, classic silver disc, just hanging there. And we watched it for probably all of 20 seconds. It shot up straight into the air in a blink of an eye and was gone. We ran back to the scout camp and said, "We saw a UFO, we saw a flying saucer." And by the evening meal, the other three boys denied that they had seen anything because of the ridicule and the scorn from the other boys, and including the scoutmasters. Remember, this is 1962, 61, and
Oh, that's
hold on,
Peggy.
Mike.
Peggy's running the garbage disposal.
Hello? Yeah, this is Marzulli. Hi, Andrew. What's going on? Okay, we're here. Thank you. It's Andrew Smith back. Live on. Here's the Watchmen. Look, I'm building my house. And some of you are going, "Oh my God, LA, go move back to California. Oh my God, oh, what's in the world? Oh, he's moving back to California. Oh, I can't believe it." Hey, the Jesus movement started here, folks. Okay, but this movement started right here. Azusa Street started right here in Cali. Is it a mess upstate? Yeah. But I dare you to go up against the thousands of pastors who are working and praying for this state. Instead of throwing us under the bus, why not pray for us? I've been on this property for 45 years. It's my home. No apologies. Let's move on. So I saw the UFO, and by that evening meal, from lunch in a span of 4 hours, the three other boys denied, "Oh, we didn't see a UFO." And I'm going like, why are these guys lying? I know what I saw. And that began the journey. Remember, I'm about 11 or 12 then. And then, 16 to 18, I think around 18 is when Von Doniken's book came out, Chariots of the Gods, which I believed every word of it. And believed it until I was 30 and became a Christian. And then everything shifted. Because of the Christian perspective, all of a sudden it's like, who is the prince of the power of the air? And by the way, folks, that is our what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, she just left. Thank you. That is our mission. Our mission statement is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air and to herald the return of the King, Jesus. And so everything that we do is to expose the deception of the prince of the power of the air. That's what we do. And I know there's people who go, "Alright, why do you, who cares about UFOs? You should be talking about Jesus." Well, let me explain something to you, folks. That salvation is the first step. This whole salvation message, which we can give, and I do get it from time to time on radio shows. And if you don't know the Lord, if you think you know him, you don't know him, you don't know him. If you ask him into your heart, he'll change your life. You'll become born again. Your DNA will change, literally. You'll become spirit-filled, and your life will never be the same. Trust me, it's been 40 years. But that's the first step, becoming saved. And then the Lord begins to move us into different aspects. Mike's ministry is different than my ministry. Could I do what Mike does? No. And I don't want to be a conference promoter. I don't want to do that. But Mike is adept at it, as is Jeannie. And they're called to do that, and they do a great job in the body of Messiah. I'm called to something completely different, and I've been doing this since I was 14 years old and started reading all this stuff. Peter Tompkins' book on the Great Pyramid. So I've been a student of the arcane literally for decades. Now, take that up into the Nimitz. Before Fox News came out with David Fravor, who was the F-18 pilot, who actually traced this thing down, had it on film, and it's his voice where you hear him go, "Whoa, got it." That's Fravor's voice in the F-18. He was the one who had visual contact, saw it, had it on the radar, had it in his gun sights, okay? And he said, when asked by Tucker Carlson, what do you think this was, basically he stated, whatever this was not from this world. Now, that's disclosure. That happened in 2017 in December. We're now in 2020. That's basically almost 3 years ago. 2 years and a month, okay? 2 years and a month since that was actually released. That's full-blown disclosure. I will be at the Alien Snowfest this coming weekend. I leave on Thursday to go up to Big Bear. George Norrie will be there. Nick Pope will be there. Michael Barra, Nick Redford, to name a few, and L.A. Marzulli, the only Christian researcher. Before David Fravor's F-18 encounter exposed on Fox News, this subject was utterly taboo, and anyone who talked about it wore a tinfoil hat. There are other speakers at Hear the Watchmen and other conference who used to look at me like I had three heads because I was talking about this. Now, everything's changed. Now everybody's kind of going, whoa, and it's amazing. All the Johnny come in, oh, yeah, UFO stuff, and they try to pile on the bandwagon. Folks, I've written 13 books about this. I've dedicated my life to exposing this. And you say, the UFO phenomenon has everything to do inexorably with being on the trail of the Nephilim. It's all sourced by the dark side. It's all sourced by the prince, the power of the air. The elongated skulls of Peru have everything to do with what we're seeing. It's all connected. It all goes back to the dark side. It all goes back to the prince, the power of the air. And what we're doing is to expose his deception. So this cat and mouse game with the UFO stuff has gone on literally for decades. And we have to ask ourselves, why is it that they just show up and then just stay there? They don't do that. They show up and bam. A few people see them and then they're just gone. So this is what we see over and over and over and over again. Now, that's the backstory to your question. Question number one. The reason why they've kept it secret all these years is because they believed that if they revealed the so-called extraterrestrial presence, it would undermine the entire fabric of society. People would panic, religions would collapse, the societal structure would collapse. So based on that, and for the last 60 years, since Roswell, there's been tons of information. Have you ever gone to a movie theater or just looked around during the movie? I challenge your listeners, the next time you're in a movie theater, and by the way, we don't go to movies anymore because it's all trash, it's all Hollywood crap. All these guys, I'm going to go on a rabbit trail here. All the Hollywood people, Trump's an idiot, round up your guns, what's it going to take, oh my gosh, we love the illegals, just come in here, blah, 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 blah. Well, I won't go to see your stupid movie. How does that sound? I'll save my $15 and won't see your trash because all you guys do is make trash constantly. Now there's some good movies that come out every now and then, and for the most part, I'm not buying it. You guys are the most pampered bunch of morons you're actors for crying out loud, pretending to be somebody else. Hello? So the bottom line is this, that Hollywood, when you go to a movie and you look around, this is what you see. And I hope you have a good, clear image, right? This is what people look like. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Well, you're right. I mean, here's the thing, L.A. If you look at what's going on in the Christian community today, okay, so we are all consumed with Virginia and all this other stuff.
Which is important.
And you know what? The deal is, what we need to really be concerned with is getting close to Christ. And we need to get right with Christ. Because, look, you and I, we don't pick dates. We're not going to say he's coming on this date and all that stuff. But all the signs of the times lead up to the fact that Jesus is going to return. And he's going to deal with the unchristlike. So where do you want to be on that side of the fence? What do you think?
Well, I'm right there with you. I think it's. I mean, look, I'm in full-time ministry. You're in full-time ministry. My whole life is dedicated to Him, and my ministry is a little different than most people. But I try to walk the walk. I try to take every thought accountable, and it's a minute-by-minute decision, isn't it? Every day is different. Right now I'm in Corinthians 13. I'm memorizing it because it's the love chapter. It all boils down to that. I mean, if there are two things, and I'm going to talk about this at your conference. There are two pieces of scripture, in my opinion. If we get them into our minds and our spirits, it changes our life. The first one is Psalm 103, because it tells us who He is, that His unfailing love, and that He forgives us, and that He heals all our diseases, and that He looks at us and as a father looks at His children, tender and compassionate, for He knows how we are made and realizes we are but dust. And when you read 103, and if we put it down in our spirit, man and woman, it lets us know that God is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and full of unfailing love. That's who He is. It gives us His attributes. It shows us the attributes of God. Then when we go to Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind. And we start there and we move from, we move on the rest of the chapter, what it's not. It doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's not self-seeking, it doesn't dishonor others, to name a few things. And that, when we dwell on that, when we think about it, and the Spirit of the living God begins to implement that in our life, things change. Things change. So that's the fuel that I run on. But what my ministry is to warn people of the coming great deception, which is the revealing of a so-called extraterrestrial presence, which circles us back to the Nimitz thing. So they're terrified to release it. But that was the Roswell crew. And guess what, Mike? I wrote a blog about this years ago, saying that, the old guard from Roswell in 47, for those of you who don't know, there was a crash outside Roswell. There's no doubt about that. We've got two sources that claimed it. One was Jesse Marcel Jr., who I interviewed. The other one with the Colonel Hill, which came from two witnesses who talked to him. Second-hand information, but these guys were pastors, Jim and Carolyn Rankin, and I know them. And they interviewed Colonel Hill, who was 90-some years old when he died. He was flown to Roswell right after it happened and tried to make contact with the so-called extraterrestrial and couldn't do it. He told us point blank that the wreckage went to Wright-Patterson. I mean, so all these guys who tell us that there's really no nuts and bolts and that Roswell was a weather balloon, in my opinion, they're smoking something. They're part of the deception. There are nuts and bolts crap.
Well, L.A.
And all this was there.
L.A. So we have this world that we live in today. And, listen, when God called upon me to do Hear the Watchman, right, I was like, he was like at the last card on his Rolodex. For you kids out there that don't know what a Rolodex is, it was this thing that you wound through. And
yeah, that's antique, isn't it?
And he said to me, he said, serve me. And I was kind of like, look, there's like a million other people out there that could do this better than I could. But he chose me. And he chose you to do what you do. And the thing is, we look at all this stuff going on right now, and people are afraid. They're afraid. I get emails from people who say, like, listen, I really want to come to Hear the Watchman Dallas, but I'm afraid that we're going to be in World War III. And it's like, look, all of that stuff that you're thinking, all of that stuff that you're afraid of, those are just conspiracy theories against yourself. So get out of it. Get out there, serve Jesus, do what you got to do to make things happen. So, L.A., what do we have to see from you coming out in the next year?
Well, I've got probably 3 films that will come out. For those of you who don't know, the On the Trail of the Nephilim series has 3 films that are already out there. They're going to be up on Vimeo fairly soon, but they're not. You can get one of them. Mysterious Mound Builders is the first one. The second one is Mathematical Mysteries of the Mound Builders. The third is Secrets of the Supernatural Voices from the Other Side. The fourth film is ready to go. It's actually being color corrected and mixed with the audio. It goes right to the duplicators. There is a pre-sale for that. That's episode 4, and that is America's Stonehenge, the Canaanite Connection. All these films are standalone films. I'm on the trail, folks, and the series is called On the Trail of a Nephilim. So I'm going to be talking some about that because it all dovetails together. So 4 and 5, I'm working on 5 right now. 5 will be part 2 of America's Stonehenge, the Canaanite Connection. Number 6 is done already, completely finished, and it's on the DNA from the Baraka skulls. I couldn't release it now, but I'm waiting because we've got some new information. We're working with a new lab on the DNA, and I'll be talking about all this and more. Of course, the UFO thing, at the Hear the Watchmen thing. Folks, we are at a window of time which is unprecedented. There's no doubt about it. Earthquakes are through the roof. The Ring of Fire is active. Volcanic activity is springing up like Brussels sprouts, for crying out loud. The social unrest globally is incredible. And the separation between the left and the right is at the point where it's now, you can't reconcile it. You just can't. When you get someone like Bernie Sanders, whose supporters are going, if something happens and the thing is rigged, we'll burn the cities down. I mean, these are communists. That's what they are. They're communists. And, kill the rich. This is exactly what the Bolsheviks did in 1917, and we all know what happened there. All we need to do is look at communist China. Well, look at communist China. Look at communist Russia. What was it, 70, 80 million people in the gulags, never to be seen again? Same thing in communist China with the re-education camps. I mean, that's, Mike, you talked about the Second Amendment stuff in Virginia. Okay, so they had a peaceful rally, but the Democrats want to round up the guns. And the reason why they want to round up the guns is so they can bring in their New World Order.
Exactly.
That's just pure paranoid. No, I'm not. That's the end game. That's the George Soros end game, to bring everyone equally poor. Look at what's happening in South America. All of South America is imploding. All of it. Because what happened in Venezuela, 3 million people left the country, which is impacting Peru, Colombia, Ecuador. It's impacting everything. And those countries are unstable at best. So then you look at Mexico, which is an absolute nightmare. The drug cartels. Trump is right. We should declare war against the cartels. That's what should happen. So I'm just kind of going around the globe. You look at the tension between India and Pakistan and Kashmir, which has never subsided. Look at the nonsense with the Chinese stealing everybody. And the Chinese want global domination. The Iranians back down because they know that they don't stand a stinking chance against us. And the strike against Soleimani proved it to them. Khomeini sat there and shook his fist at Trump. You can't do anything. And Trump said, that's it. That's the red line. Yeah, we can. After you attacked our embassy. I'm not Jimmy Carter with my 53 people, okay? I'm not doing that. After you attacked our embassy. Some lady's going by and she's taking pictures of our house. What is she doing? It's just, it's just welcome to California. Some lady in a white pickup truck looked like she was at her cell phone taking pictures. Go away.
Look, LA. You look at what's going on out there. Okay, and you see like the Muslim agenda, you see all of this stuff happening. Okay, so what does God want us to do? He wants us to stand up and be accountable. That means that sometimes you have to say something that might not be totally popular. I say stuff on my shows all the time, and I'll get comments like, oh, you're a racist, you're this, you're that, whatever. Yeah, sure. I don't care. Don't post them. I don't care. I am a 60-year-old man who lives in the mountains of Idaho who is all about freedom. That's all I'm about. And we try to bring Hear the Watchmen to communities across the country to educate people, to learn from L.A. Marzulli about what's really going on out there. And, L.A., it's sad, but, the liberal left wants to shut our voice down as much as they possibly can. And
All day.
and it's like, look, you can vote your way into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out of it. And the problem is they take your guns away. Let's just look at Hitler's regime. Let's look at what's going on in Venezuela right now. The richest country in the world in terms of oil and minerals and gold, and they're completely messed up. They're completely messed up. Their people can't feed themselves. So,
Yeah, there's a.
and you want to bring that to the U.S.? I'm sorry. No. Not going to do that.
It's just like the media, saying we're just a bunch of white nationalists at Virginia yesterday. I mean, what people need to understand, and I think 2020 is going to be a landslide for Trump. I think it's going to be an absolute landslide. I think that we're.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think you're right. I think you're right, L.A. I think you're right. But, you look at Bernie Sanders, okay, for instance, and now they want to lower the voting age to like 16 in California. And here's the other thing that gets me. So California has a new, I'm not banging on you because you're in California. I mean, I love it there. I grew up there. But, they just introduced a law that says you cannot have a sex change before you're 6 years old. So what happens at 7? Are you suddenly, like at 7 years old, are you suddenly able to, decide who you want to be? And that's the problem. I mean, when you and I grew up, men were men, women were women. And we have this whole thing in the remnant body right now. It's a divisive thing where, look, the men need to preach. And I don't mean to be controversial. I'm not saying that women's opinions aren't valuable. I'm just saying the men need to preach and the women need to support. And I don't know, LA. I don't know how to couch that any gentler. I mean, I love my wife. She is like a spiritual leader in our house, and she teaches me a lot of stuff. But come the end of the day, I'm the guy that has to stand up. That's what men do. And now we're here in America, and we've got these skinny jean, fairy boys. And I know I'll get a bunch of hate mail for that, but I mean, we need to stand up as men, don't you think?
Well, absolutely. Women, and I get it. It's controversial, and I'm not trying to put down women who are Bible scholars because they can do that and they can teach the women. Women can be prophetesses, and there are all through the Bible, even in the New Testament, the same thing. But there's a difference between men and women. And if you don't see that difference, or if you think there's no difference, there is a huge difference. Living with my wife for 35 years, not only biologically, but the way she thinks and the way I think. And nothing is superior or inferior. We're just two different species. We are. Females are completely different. They're wired different than most men. I'm painting with a broad brush here. There's always exceptions to every rule. But the bottom line is women receive and men give. Women are nurturers for the most part, and men have to learn that. And I've learned that from my wife, which is incredible. So I've taught her things, and she's taught me things. But at the end of the day, and let me wrap that up by saying this: that we always hear women submit to your husbands. That doesn't mean a woman submits to all other men. It just means she submits to her husband. But here's the kicker, and most people don't know this. We are supposed to treat our wives like Christ loves the church. Hello.
Amen.
Laying our lives down for her.
Amen.
Lives down.
And we seem to have lost
And if we do that, she will automatically.
Yeah, we seem to have lost that. And the thing is, for me, okay, my wife is a hard charger. I mean, you've dealt with her, I mean, she's a hard charger. She gets the job done. But when
Yeah,
it
she
comes,
does. She's really good at it.
yeah, but when it comes to our house and what goes on, she looks to me for guidance in the spiritual realm. Now, why? I'm not really sure. I've been through some stuff in my life. I was homeless. I've been in jail. I was a drunk, and I came out of all that. Now, why does she look to me for spiritual guidance? She looks to me because I have the discernment that was honed over years of trials and tribulations to help. And we come into this world today and we've got people who are like, well, I'm not sure. Am I a man? Am I a woman? Am I like a pangender, which means that I don't, whatever goes on? No. I mean, the Bible is clear. You are a man, I am a man, your wife is a woman, my wife is a woman, and that's the way it's supposed to work. And we're just getting so confused today. How do we combat that, LA?
Well, I mean, it's amazing how in our society there are sections of the population which are applauding the whole transgender movement. And this is nothing new. It goes back thousands of years. I mean, Derek Gilbert did a wonderful presentation on this. He also came in on one of our films and discussed it, Mysterious Mound Builders, the idea of ancient goddesses shifting between male and female. So the bottom line is, you can take all the hormones you possibly can. It'll never change your DNA. If you died as a transgender female, and someone 1,000 years from now dug you up and looked at your DNA would read male. Same way. So we can chop parts off and take all the hormones and look the part, but the bottom line is we are wired genetically from birth. And so this is a great lie. And when you actually get into the transgender community, and I mean, we know a few people, David Arthur, who lived as a woman, I think, for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he came out of it, and his testimony is incredible because he was dying of AIDS. He was a death sentence. He had a fever of 102 constantly and boils all over his skin. He could barely walk to the bathroom 10 feet away without a walker. And he started reading the Bible because he didn't want to go to hell. And he asked the Lord into his life, and he read the Bible. And as he's reading, within a period of 2 weeks, the fever breaks, the boils are gone. He goes in for a blood test. And there's no trace of the virus, of the HIV virus. And he looked at it and goes, it's a miracle. And it was a miracle. And he now ministers to people in the transgender community, which is what he needs to be doing. The transgenders have one of the highest suicide rate. I think I forget, it's 4 or 5 times the average. It's off the hook. So, it's like, in my opinion, this is the great lie of the age. The fact that you can be with any gender you want to be, and somehow taking hormones is going to make that happen. It will never make it happen. There was a man at one of the conferences who we were at, and he's transgender, and I mean it was amazing because he didn't pass. And when I mean that with all due respect, I mean he looked like a guy in drag. And he had a deep voice, but he had long hair and lipstick on. And, it's like, okay, I went past that and not ministered to him, but just treated him with love. Because that's what I'm called to do. Not recoil from the sin, because that's what it is, but to reach out and love. And, we got to talk and be friendly, whatever. But, this guy's in bondage, and as the entire homosexual community. But they have a huge lobby, and they yell and they scream, and they'll call us homophobes and everything else. Well, as a Christian, we look at this, and it's aberrant behavior. Just like, adultery is aberrant behavior. Incest is aberrant behavior. Stealing, lust. I mean, the list is endless. And we're called out of that. And that's the whole point, circling back to the good news of the gospel. When we accept Jesus into our lives, and we become spirit-filled by the living God. And I'm not talking religion here, folks. People, you're back in the fire of Elias again. Well, no, I'm not. The Bible is just a guidebook of the supernatural. What we're talking about is a real experience with the God of The God who was there, the real God, the God who created you and created me, the God who already knows you. And, oh, gee, big surprise, all we do is we come to him. Whoa, 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 you know, it's unbelievable. You would think we were giving him a real treat. What he gives us is eternal life, and he begins to change us. And the reason for this is, folks, thousands of years ago, our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, Adam and Eve, decided that they were going to buy in to the dragon, to Satan's lie. And so they did. And with that, they embraced the sin code. And that sin code is now in every single person. And what being born again does, it starts to break down the whole of the sin code. It begins to break it down so it no longer has power over us. And that's the miracle of being born again. And your sin code, if you're hearing me, you don't know what I'm talking about, your sin code, that sin code is in you right now. If you don't know him, that sin code is operating in your life full blown. It is. It might not manifest fully, but it's there. And it will manifest. And all those things that the sin code embraces. Jesus came to break the sin code in all of us and to set us free from it. And that's what being born again is about.
Amen. Amen. Well, now, L.A., we're running out of time here today, but let's tell people, how do they find you? How do they connect with you?
Well, the best place is our website, www.lamarzulli.net. Folks, I've got a special on the Force film. It's $15 instead of $20. We're going to be streaming them all soon. You can start binge watching them. I hope to get, I know we're going to get 3 films out this year for sure, possibly a 4th. We have traveled the world. In episode 4, we show scenes from Norba, Italy, scenes from Tel Gezer in Israel. We're all over the map. Scenes from Karnak, France. We filmed in all these places. So we've got hours and hours and hours of footage, and that's why we're now in edit mode. So episode 4 is America's Stonehenge. The site is in New Hampshire. It's a Canaanite site, in our opinion. The Canaanites were one of the Nephilim tribe. Whoa! What are they doing over here in the Americas? You want to find that out, folks, because this is the prince of the power of the air, and we are exposing his deception. www.lamarzulli.net. Check it out.
Guys, get there, check it out. The best way, the absolute best way to connect with L.A. Marzulli is come to Hear the Watchmen in Dallas. Just go to hearthewatchmen.com. Use the promotional code LA20. Save yourself $20 off a general admission ticket. LA, believe it or not, he will actually spend time talking to you and sitting down. He might even have dinner with you. Come check it out. I mean, it's an amazing... The guy is a regular guy, just like I am. I mean, we're just regular guys trying to figure it out and do the best we can for Jesus. L.A., thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, always good to see you, and I'll see you in March. God bless you guys.
You'll see me there. Now, listen, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Watchmen's Report. As I always say,